Travel Market Life.
Welcome to the Travel Review Show June 2024 edition, and we'll be looking at solo travel. Joining us are our expert panelists Claire Steiner, Will Plummer and James Clark as we delve into tackling the news with Booking.com and Expedia, then into solo travel with interviews from Kerry Gallagher, the Managing Director at Silver Travel, and Pelumi Nubi, a content creator. Before we then dive into our quick quiz, I'm your host, Ryan Haynes. Let's get on with the show.
Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
Okay, so summer is well and truly here, guys, and you've been out and about, you're doing things. We've got Claire, who's actually joining us on a line that's currently connected from Greece. Hiya, Claire. How is your trip going over there? Are you making the most of it?
Hi, Ryan. I certainly am. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Greece is a beautiful country. I've not been to this area before. I'm in the Halkidiki province. I had a few days here of just resting and enjoying this beautiful country and its food and its wine. And now I'm heading off this afternoon down to the ICT conference down in Porto Caras, down on the further south from where I am. So, yeah, loving every minute of it, of course.
Passion and dedication for the travel industry. You are carving out just a tiny little bit of time to join us here. Thank you. Will, you're back from Hungary. How was that little trip?
Yeah, lovely. Absolutely stunning part of the country. We're in a place called Shavar, which means mud castle, about 2.5 hours drive from Budapest, out for a family wedding. And yeah, stunning scenery, great weather, great entertainment. So yeah.
Have you been for a Hungarian wedding before?
No, I've done other Eastern European. I've done a Bulgarian and a Polish, all similar themed, hard liquor, a lot of crazy dancing, but wonderful festivities, wonderful warmth and happiness, and great occasion.
I always find them so much better, the European weddings, than the British ones. Ours seem to be a little bit dry or stuck in the 60s and 70s with disco music. But
absolutely, yeah.
Go to a good French wedding and you're up until 6 o'clock in the morning.
Probably. It's too late for me. I'm a 10 o'clock man. I need my beauty sleep. Lots and lots of it.
Well, coming to another gentleman that's been well rested after a bit of a holiday in Cyprus, James Clark. How was your trip?
Hello, Ryan. Hi, guys. Very, very, very nice. Just what the doctor ordered. Lots of vitamin D, lots of downtime with family, pool time with my children. So, yeah, really relaxed and raring to go.
Good one. I'm just back from a trip to Snowdonia, preparing myself for a Welsh coast road trip. Yes, back to Wales. Can't wait to explore more of that because I am a water baby at heart. And the rivers, the lakes, the waterfalls. Oh, I tell you what, when the weather does hold back, it is absolutely wonderful. So let's dive into the news first, though, shall we? Because we've got some interesting news stories to explore.
Travel Market Life.
So in the news, first one, Booking.com faces new probe into claims it misled customers. So the consumer watchdog has identified Booking.com as a platform that has left out tourist taxes and supplements from its advertised prices and falsely claiming that hotel rooms were almost sold out. Interesting one. Is this all marketing, or do you think that this was an oversight on their part? Where are we standing on this one?
Go on, I'll be cynical. I think there are some companies that look at this and go, how am I going to win business? And I'm not sure whether they're seeking to mislead, but they're seeking to attract as much business as they possibly can. And this is one of the tactics that they're sort of utilizing at this point. It's great to see there is some oversight going into this. I'm hearing stories on other things like taxes not being paid correctly to hotels where they not from Booking.com specifically, but from other OTAs and hotel bed banks where taxes aren't being paid sufficiently or properly. And okay, fair enough, fair game at times, but it's good to see there is actually someone coming in, an authority coming in and checking that it's being properly policed, because ultimately it's for everyone's benefit, it's for the consumer's benefit. It's, yes, to attract more customers, but ultimately we want to protect them along the way, and we want to make sure that everyone gets what they've paid for and understands what they're getting.
I just had a conversation with a lawyer expert, Richard Colley, on drip pricing. And this is all about sort of like, how do you capture interest and drive people through the funnel? And it's really interesting about potentially here in the UK, some of the new regulations that will be coming in, and actually making that idea of drip pricing effectively sort of like not necessarily showing the entire final price, less giving not allowing the companies to do that so much. James, I mean, you're constantly sort of promoting different packages. What are the policies that you believe companies should adhere to and help with their customers?
Well, I think to Will's point, I completely agree. But fundamentally, I think as a advertiser, it should be the clearest and the most transparent price possible to the customer and the consumer. What's happened over the years is there's been this, it goes in kind of like this kind of circle, should we call it, where we go to the airlines first and say that the airlines have to be, clear, you should be able to book that price that you advertise. And then they kind of change the way that they operate, and then they add the bags on, the seats on. And, ultimately there has to be a way that you can book that leading price. And even if it means you're sat in the toilet for the entire journey, but there's a price. And the hoteliers have kind of gone down the similar route, or the agent, should we say, not the hoteliers direct, where you go to book through a site and hidden in the small print somewhere is a city tax or a hotel tax or another tax. And what's happened, as we've spoke about this in the past, is that the online community now can bite back. And they can rally together and they can go to the champions of these, whether if it's the likes of a Watchdog or if it's the ASA directly, and say, we as a consumer have a voice and we're fed up of being caught out like this.
Yes, I mean, as you say, it does massively affect reputation, business reputation, if you are constantly putting a price out there which isn't the same as when you do the checkout. And there's been countless examples, particularly of budget airlines that have been perhaps putting forward certain pricing, and then by the time you get to the end, those are way beyond what you initially saw advertised. Claire, is this something you've experienced yourself, and how do you sort of avoid working with companies that potentially have these misleading pricing?
Well, I think James just said it. I think it's all about trust. And as a consumer, I think we have budgets when we go out and buy something, be it a holiday or whatever it is. And if we go in and are hooked in, and we think, oh, this looks good, and then suddenly at the end we're stung by an extra load of, costs, it really erodes the trust you have in it. And for me, it makes me think twice, and I might actually move away from that booking and go somewhere else where I think I'm going to get better value, but also more transparency. And the likelihood is I probably won't go back to that site again. So yeah, I think it's all to do with the trust. And I'm glad to see that there are changes certainly in the UK for stopping this from happening.
Now, moving on to our next story, another big OTA. Now, interesting, and interestingly, Expedia is letting influencers cash in on their followers. So they have introduced travel shops, which allows influencers and content creators to earn commissions from travelers when they book their recommended hotels. Quite an interesting development here. I think it's always potentially been on the cards. We've seen plenty of sponsorships in and around retail. Now we're seeing it within travel as well. I know I've seen this perhaps more so with like one-to-one deals that you have between influencers and hotels or hotel brands. But Expedia, big brand here, big platform. Is this something that's going to become the norm? Would you book through an influencer? Claire, I mean, are you a social media? Do you follow a lot of the influencers?
Not a huge amount, to be fair. I actually, for me, I mean, I think we're lucky working in the industry that we have contacts that can tell us the best places to go and get the good value. So I don't take that for granted. And I guess you could say that the people in the industry are my influencers. I don't buy into it necessarily, because actually I think, not all of them, and I don't want to tar everybody with the same brush, but the influencers themselves, it's if they are given a free holiday, provided that they then tell their million followers to go on the free holiday. I don't know. To me, I'm just like, well, that doesn't really say what I would need it to say. So I'm a bit cynical about that. I'm joining Will's club in that one.
How about you, Travel Sue? Work with influencers?
We do work with influencers, but we work with influencers of a nature of, we like to work with member influencers. Our members are our biggest influencers. So we always ask them to tell the story and share that story. And, they're not paid to do that. That's the point of being a Travelzoo member, to build that community. Outside that, we also work with a few very small micro influencers and, not to the scales that I imagine Expedia are looking for. And the key for that is authenticity. If you are being influenced, you want to be influenced by a like-minded traveler or a like-minded consumer. What I think is misleading is when you're influenced or trying to be influenced by someone who gets a private jet to a Greek island to, go onto a Greek island for one day and take a photo of a beach in Mykonos, which has been purposely emptied for you. And then you go, oh, wow, I really want to go to Mykonos. And you go and you see the 4,000 people on the beach and the price of a glass of rosé is 100 euros. So I think there's two types of influences. But look, good luck to Expedia. They're trying to be different.
I think we're the wrong demographic, aren't we? I don't want to cast aspersions on my colleagues here, but look, I'm surprised it's taken Expedia so long, really, in terms of that. I think that's the way that a lot of marketing is going. People are trying different things to get different audiences from different generations. Obviously, there are generations that will follow influencers. It's all about, the photos on Instagram. It's all about who's where, who's posting what. And I'm not surprised. I think you'll see a lot of other companies do it. But I think the key thing, it's got to be part of a broad strategy. I don't think they're even saying we're putting all our eggs into the influencer basket. That's part of a broad marketing campaign through different medium for different audiences. So I think you'll see that happening. To James's point, it is about that authenticity, but the proof is in the pudding. And I think there will be, natural filtering by the consumer based on the reality of what they're buying. And I think you'll see that being refined over time. It will always have a place just because of how the platforms are working, how people are taking their information these days. And yeah, I'm not surprised to see it. And I think we'll see a lot more of it.
Excellent, thank you. Right, on to our third story then. Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, that's my home area, is considering a local visitor charge. So under their current proposals, to earn a little bit more money, a charge of £2.40 would be added to a guest bill per room per night. So over 4 nights, that would be an extra £10. What's your thoughts here? Is this something that we could see across the UK? Is there a need for it? Do you think the travel industry really, or the UK domestic travel industry really needs to be trying to raise more money to support local tourism?
So personally, I think it's just about taking a bit more cream off the top. It's a bit of a shame, really. I don't think destinations like that need to be adding a form of tax when, particularly in the shoulder and the off-peak season, they'll be just craving to have tourists, let alone trying to get an additional piece of revenue. Sometimes the opportunity outweighs, the actual benefit. And they probably look at this and go, well, if we know we have X many tourists, this will generate X income. But think about the local shop seller, the local restaurant, all these guys who are going to be affected potentially by a downturn in traffic. So look, will it put off the large majority? No. Will it put off the minority? Probably yes, because they'll look at the resort down the road and say they welcome tourists. That's my gut feel.
Absolutely. I've been surprised by it. I mean, there's already a local tax for local businesses anyway, to support the local tourist board. So what they're doing on top of this is now taxing the guests or the travelers coming here, not just the local businesses that are benefiting from the tourism. And I think as a result of the pandemic, yes, of course, we had a load of people coming to our beaches. It was, there was overpopulated for weeks and weeks at a time for the last few years. But We've also seen staycationing over the last years really drop as people start to travel abroad again. So, like you said, James, I think that it could potentially be putting people off massively. Will, I know that in other European countries, there's local tourist tax. Is it not fair?
Well, I just wonder where the balance is, and I'm interested to know some of the economics, and I'll put my hands up and say I don't. Obviously, you're seeing a lot of taxes coming in around over tourism. Venice is limiting the number of people coming in, etc. Now, if this money is going somewhere for the development of that town, city, tourist attraction, to continue the longevity, so that in the short, medium, long term, you haven't got this over tourism situation. So actually you can be a sustainable tourism destination, then I'm all for it. If it's just a simple cash cow to put money in the, local council, then yeah, I agree with the cynicism. But if it's going to the right place for the right things, I do see that it could work, because I see the flip side, which is places like Venice bringing in a tourism tax. That almost feels too late. I mean, that's trying to be a massive deterrent to these people, rather than actually using it for the good of a destination. So in two minds, but if it's going to the right place, if it's going for the long-term benefit of these places, then I'm prepared to give it the benefit of the doubt.
I don't want to be really controversial, but I remember years ago when they said at Luton Airport, you need £1 to drop someone off because it's going to go towards the redevelopment of Luton Airport and like the resurfacing of the roads. And everyone back then was kind of like, well, we'll accept £1. I think it's like 10 quid now to drop someone off. And every single airport in the UK seems to apply some form of levy to just drop someone off at an airport. And I just think it's a slippery slope. You introduce £1, it becomes 2. 2 becomes £2.50, £3, and before you know it, you're actually creating more damage than you are good.
Okay, right then. Just a final bit of news. MasterCard has launched its Travel Trends 2024, where it identifies some of the changes that we're seeing in the market. Apparently, passengers are traveling at an all-time high, with Japan welcoming over 3 million passenger arrivals already by March 2024. Apparently, tourists are spending more time on holiday by up by 1 extra day on pre-COVID levels. And the top gainers are Japan, Ireland, and Romania. Yes, they're experiencing the strongest growth in share of spending from tourists compared to last year. Coming up next, we're going to be diving into the solo travel trend.
Travel Market Life.
Okay, so we're in solo travel. Did you know that Brits are now becoming bolder when it comes to their travel habits? According to Holiday Pirates, more than 1 in 5, that's 21%, now want to embark on solo trips. And this year alone, 1 in 10 travellers will embark on a solo journey, while 1 in 5 want to see the world without having to wait for someone to join them. Touring and adventure aggregator TourHub and TourHound have seen solo bookings increase to 46% of transactions this year, compared to just over a third in 2022. While Wendy Wu Tours has seen a 48% increase in solo bookings from January to August compared to the same period in 2019. So it's really massively becoming popular. 9 of 10 travellers take tours, or some or all of the time, while more than half plan to take 2 or more trips a year. And then the greatest increase in solo travellers actually come from female solo travellers aged 65 and older, going from 4% in 2019 to 18% in 2022. And did you know? It's women that lead solo travelling. 84% of solo travellers are women. So a big thing. I mean, Claire, this is something that you really brought to the table to discuss and helped me interview Kerry, Gallagher, Managing Director at Silver Travel, and Pelumi Nubi, content creator, who will be coming up next. You're a big solo traveller, aren't you?
I am. I love it. I love the freedom it gives you. I love the opportunity to do things when you want to do them without waiting for other people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love traveling with friends as well and family. But for me, I think maybe the older I've got, the braver I've got as well. I mean, I did my first proper solo traveling when I was in my late 20s, and whilst I'm not in the 65 plus bracket yet, I see my mum doing it and her friends doing it.
What do you find is important when it comes to solo traveling, from a perspective of what the industry should be offering?
I think one, obviously the security. So don't get me wrong. I think, everyone's aware of it. I think we have seen over the years a rise in hotels being better when it comes to how they look after female travelers. A lot of them now have floors dedicated only to just women guests. And also, I know I've been involved in training, and I always have a word if I don't see it being done, where if a woman is on her own and she's receiving her room key, they don't announce to everybody standing in reception what room she is in, as they hand her key. And I think things like that are really important. But actually, I think, this whole adventure travel, it's great fun to go out and meet similar minded people and do the group tours. And for me, I think there's a huge opportunity in that as well. I do a bit of touring, but I also like to do my own thing in my own time.
Excellent. I mean, I've been also solo traveling for quite some time. I did my first trip over to the US, hop, skipping, jumping across the country, visiting friends. And I had a week of my own in San Francisco. And that was a true learning experience there. And I went around India, Cambodia, Vietnam, and also, like yourself, joined some of these tours. And it is a great way of being able to meet people who are like-minded like yourself, or just being able to fill a day of conversation with someone other than yourself, because that can go a little bit crazy after a while, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, Will, James, have you done much solo traveling yourselves?
Not loads. I'll be honest. I mean, any solo traveling I've typically done, I've organised myself and gone off on my own. But I don't think we should be surprised by some of the numbers, to be honest, because looking at where the growth opportunity was, it was always a challenge for travel companies, how they could accommodate affordably solo travelers and safely. And I think the bottom line is what a lot of these all of these companies that you mentioned have done is put an infrastructure in place that actually does target these travelers, does provide a safe and secure environment for them to travel on their own. And affordably. It was always the case that you paid a massive single supplement to go on as a solo traveler. So I think that's changed, and I think that's what you're seeing in the numbers. You're seeing that companies taking that opportunity to really take advantage of that section of the market, and I think it's to be applauded. And I think we'll see a lot of other companies doing that, and the growth within that.
And I think if I could add something there, Ryan. So definitely to Will's point, it's going to be the growing part of the industry. We're an aging population. We know that. Travel has ultimately been democratized over the last few years. It's easier and more accessible to travel to the furthest parts of the world than it's ever been. And businesses that particularly like to either allow singles to travel in groups, but not necessarily still occupy all that time with that group is a very smart way of allowing singles to kind of travel maybe in a group, but then go off and do their own thing. But I think the biggest threat to this part of the market is around the piece that Will said, which I've actually just got some data in today from our audience. And when I was at the destination show, the biggest feedback was around the supplement for a single. And my audience, my members who I spoke to at the destination show kept asking me, why am I penalized for traveling alone? Because that's how it feels. I take one seat up on an aircraft, I take one bed up, I don't eat 2 breakfasts, I don't eat 2 lunches, etc. But I feel that I'm paying double the price. And of our survey data, when we asked particularly around solo, it's quite interesting. We said, would you still consider solo travel if there was a single supplement applied? And 27% of those solo travelers said no. So you're losing a quarter of a captive market there around single supplements. And there are some very good players in the market who are tackling that head on with no single supplements. From a cruise perspective, we have people like Riviera, we have Just You from a holidays and touring perspective. But there's more work to be done to attract that captive part of the audience.
Yes, and I've certainly seen as well that they're helping people solo travelers pair up as well to manage some of those costs, which is great because you absolutely need that to be facilitated in some way. That's for sure. Love that data. Thank you ever so much for sharing that with us. And what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from Kerry Gallagher, the managing director at Silver Travel, about what the developments are in the industry and what to think about when developing your packages and promotions.
Travel Market Life.
Joining us now is Kerry Gallagher, the Managing Director at Silver Travel Advisor, the UK's leading travel agent for the over 50s. Kerry, thank you ever so much for coming in and joining us today. So please tell us a little bit more about Silver Travel Advisor.
Oh, thank you so much, Ryan, and thank you so much for having me with you today. So yeah, Silver Travel Advisor, we've been around for about 15 years now. The company started very much as an advice and recommendation site for the over 50s to get advice and recommendations about where to go on holiday, what to do, different cruise ships, destinations, hotels. And it was all very much around user-generated reviews so that you could see what like-minded people were doing and enjoying for their holidays. We then onboarded a team of travel journalists who obviously travel all over the world. They are also over 50, so they bring back their honest, genuine, authentic opinions on the places that they visit and the holidays that they take. And then much more recently, back in 2022, we added a travel agency model to the business as well. So alongside being able to advise and inspire, we can now also take holiday bookings and manage that process for our customers very much from start to finish. So right from, as I said, inspiration all the way through to getting them on their holiday and ensuring that they have an amazing time.
Wonderful. So the theme of the show, solo travel. Are you seeing this pick up in the silver market?
Absolutely. Yes, we are. I would say that solo travel accounts for about a third of our inquiries and bookings. So it is really, really popular with our audience. And I think it's probably because over the last few years, there's just been more awareness around solo travel. And with that comes more confidence. I think if you go back maybe a decade or so ago, there was a little bit of a stigma about people traveling on their own, especially in an older age group. And there was a lot of nerves around people taking the plunge and going on holiday on their own. And I think when you consider that people travel alone for a variety of different reasons, it could absolutely be by choice, because as they get to their late stages of life, there are things that they really want to do and some bucket list trips that perhaps their partner isn't interested in doing. So they bite the bullet and they just go and do it by themselves. It could be because the children have flown the nest and they suddenly find themselves without a family around them to holiday with. It could be divorce, or sadly, and in quite a lot of cases, it could be due to bereavement as well. So people find themselves in a situation that they really weren't expecting and perhaps don't want to be in. So I think that's where a lot of the nerves around solo travel come from. However, I think over the last few years, as I said, there's a lot more awareness. I think a lot of travel companies are making huge strides in the product that they offer for solo travelers, and that has now made it much more accessible that people have much more confidence to be able to travel alone. So as I said, about probably a third of our customers are solo travelers.
So what are the popular trends you're seeing in solo travel?
I think the main one is that solo travelers are becoming much more adventurous. More adventurous. So we are seeing, one of the trends we're seeing in particular is for expedition cruising. So a lot of solo travelers booking to go down to Antarctica or to the Arctic. And that's where I think it ties in with what I said earlier about the bucket list type of trips, where people just think, do you know what, it's something I've wanted to do for such a long time. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Some really adventurous holidays that people are booking, which is fantastic to see. And I think that destinations where you might struggle to get yourself from A to B, whether there might be a language barrier or certainly a different culture, they tend to be very popular. So places like India or China or Japan are very, very popular with solo travelers, because I think when they join an organized small group tour, they feel a lot more comfortable that there's someone there to kind of hold their hand through that experience as well. So so those destinations are certainly popular with our solo travelers as well.
So joining group, as you say, you get to go on your own, but meet a load of new people. You can, I guess, disappear if you want on your own at
Yeah.
times, but or
Yeah.
stay in a group and make new friends.
Yes.
What about the side of pure independent travel? Are people turning to you and saying, help me with an itinerary where I can actually go off on my own and explore the world?
Yeah, absolutely. It is both sides. So I'd say there are three areas that are really popular for us with solo travel. So cruising is a big one. We do get a lot of people, going on cruises on their own. Again, because you said once they're on board, they know there are like-minded people that they can share their meal times with and their shore excursions with. Organized touring, very, very popular. But the independent side of things absolutely is taking off. And I think what we find is that people who haven't traveled on their own before go for that safety and security of a cruise or an organized group. But certainly if you've done quite a few trips as a solo traveler and you gain that confidence and the sort of ability to navigate on your own, that's where we do find people coming and saying, an example recently was a South America itinerary that literally took them probably across the whole continent, really, about a 6-week journey from A to B to C to D, and completely alone. So, as I said, that links back into the adventurous part of things as well. Solo travelers are certainly getting more and more adventurous.
Wow, yes. And they say 50 it's not old anymore.
No.
It's still increased much so young people are having kids at an older age as well. And it's say there's so much more products on the market, isn't there? So tell me about the markets products that are on the market that is really catering to this group.
So I think cruise lines are doing a really good job at the moment. So especially with new ships that are being built, they're making more and more provisions for solo cabins,
Right.
which ultimately then brings down some of the solo supplements, because that's, sort of a big bugbear for people who travel solo, when you almost get slapped with another 100% on your holiday cost because you're traveling alone. But I think more and more companies are looking at that and trying to make provisions, like I said, more and more solo cabins on board. Where your touring companies are concerned, there's two different kind of groups, really. You've got some companies who are dedicated solo travelers. So when you join one of their holidays, you know that every single other person within that group is also a solo traveler. Which suits some people because they like to think that everyone's in the same boat, and it gives them that a bit of a sort of security blanket. Touring companies that generally cater for everybody, again, are making some changes to their product that adapt to solo travelers. So there might be specific departures of a particular tour where it will be a guaranteed solo departure. Again, some people prefer to join that type of group. However, if you're comfortable joining a group that's mixed between friends, couples, solo travelers, they give you options to share a room with another solo traveler to, again, bring that price point down. So there's a lot of product being developed out there, which is really appealing to more and more solo travelers, and just making it easier for solo travelers to have the same experience at a price that isn't going to, as I said, put them at a disadvantage, really.
I was going to say, because the final question I wanted to ask you is the advice that you're going to give the market out of considering solo travelers, either in developing products or marketing to them.
One of the pieces of advice that we always give to our customers is if there is any nerves around traveling on your own, go with a small short break first. So maybe do a long weekend away in Europe, see if it's for you, see how you like it. That's always, one of the things we say, because the last thing you want to do is commit to a holiday for 2 weeks or so and then find a couple of days in that it, for whatever reason, it is maybe just not for you. I think one of the main pieces of advice that I would give to companies talking to solo travelers is to really have a good understanding of the audience. As I said before, there are people travel solo for different reasons, and you really have to understand that and be able to talk to them in a language that they understand. I don't think solo travelers like to be thought of as an afterthought. I think you really have to have your communications plan tailored towards that audience. So you're speaking their language, you're addressing their concerns, and you're giving them the advice that they need. So really do, when you're looking at all your audience segments, have a solo traveler as one of your dedicated segments, and really drill down into who that customer is, what they're looking for, what you can offer to them, and then really hone your communications around those key points.
Some sound advice there, Kerry. Thank you ever so much. I really appreciate your time and joining us here on Travel Market Life.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Travel Market Life.
I also spoke to Pelumi Nubi, a content creator and a keen solo traveller. First I wanted to know from her is why solo travel is so appealing.
But solo travel honestly changed my life. It's choosing or having ownership of how you choose to do things. It really shows you who you are in a way. You're not relying on other people. You're having the full experience just by yourself. And that unveils a whole layer of yourself that most people don't get to know when they don't solo travel. So solo travel has taught me a lot about who I am as a person, my likes, my beliefs, my values, and really stretched me to step out of my comfort zone and do some incredible adventure by myself, which is, self-affirm and shows the level of self-resilience I do have within myself.
Now, you have quite an extensive travel program. We were just having a bit of a chat about that before we came on to record. Tell me about some of those trips that you've undertaken as a solo traveler.
Oh my goodness. So I've traveled to over 80 plus countries, and more than half of them is solo travels. I'm always on this, like, it's happening, guys. You can more than welcome to join. I do love traveling with friends, but most time, time don't work out or everyone got other commitments. I intend to go solo. So more of my, within Europe has been solo travel. Just look for, like I said, a Skyscanner, cheapest destination, weekend break, go on Friday, come back on Sunday, that kind of thing. But very recently, I did a solo trip, solo driving from London to Lagos, being the first Black woman to do such adventure, which was just incredible. I was able to immerse myself, traveling through Europe and then through West Africa, and just have, bucket list of memories that I could, not trade for the world. So yeah, that was the most recent adventure that I went on solo.
I mean, my next question was, the challenges as a solo traveler.
I think, just being by yourself, people don't realize how isolating that can be. I was in this car, and at one point I was like, I think I'm losing my mind. I'm in multiple conversation with self. So yeah, there's definitely that point of being conscious of making sure a level of connection is happening. If you're talking about being a woman, you have the safety concerns. That was one of the top asked questions. How are you sure you're not going to be kidnapped? Are you sure you're going to be safe? Just a woman, just the general perception of society, expectations and stuff like that. That's definitely something. I'm just safety conscious. So there were some things I did, like I had like an air tag on me all the time, so my family could know exactly where I was. I had the door locked and the window open. I had like blackout curtains at the back, so people couldn't look into the car and see like my valuables in there. I try not to drive at night. There was just like safety conscious I kind of put into place. Solo travel just come with that level of extra cost too as well. I think most organizations are making, that conscious effort whereby, like, it's a cruise, they're trying to pairing people together or trying to see how to reduce costs. So that's something that's, industries could be more conscious about why sometimes as a solo traveler, you want to go on a tour, but it's minimum of 3 people and you're having to pay that out of pocket. So just that awareness that being solo does become quite expensive pretty quickly sometimes. But yeah, I think those are the few challenges in terms of just kind of like, self-navigating some situation, not having that support network sometimes, and having to just, put yourself out of your comfort zone.
Excellent. Right, now, let's dive into the industry side of things, shall we? So how could the industry better cater for solo and particularly women travelers?
I think definitely more connectivities. I think a lot of apps are coming up now whereby you're able to meet other solo travelers. More network support networks are trying to be there. But I think definitely more improvements in these. And just the reassurance, I think as a community to just, be safer. Solo women want to feel safer in places. That's one of the top search questions. Will I be safe? What are the safety protocols? What are the cultural norm? Those are things I was personally searching for. What are the dress code? All of that. We try to do our bit as solo traveler. It'd be great, for to receive that same reciprocity. But then, accessibility to information, kind of like what are the local customs, safety tips, if this can be easily accessible. Sometimes you really have to do a deep dive and the information is not just available on your fingertip like all the things are.
Now, what advice would you give the market when they're perhaps looking at developing and creating packages, particularly for solo travelers? Is there sort of any trends that are coming out, or any ways of being able to package them up to make them more appealing?
Definitely flexibility. I think that's always a key for everybody. Personalization. People want to feel like they are being catered to, especially as a solo traveler. Just the language you use, the terminologies, the showing that you are, when you're building this package, I was being thought about, not as an afterthought, but right from the beginning. And that is really quickly reflective, the space, you go to like some co-work space, for example, and, women are really, you walk into the bathroom and you see that level of thought of, like the products, hygiene products and stuff are in there. You just know that this is not an afterthought. This was there from the beginning. So that level of detail, personalization, and, just showing that we want more solo travelers. We're able to match other solo travelers together. I spoke about programs that some cruise company are adapting, and that can be a thing whereby we're like, we see you like to travel, we'd love to match you together, or group trip with other solo travelers coming into it. But just a welcoming environment in terms of like, encouraging independency too as well. I think that's quite important. Other solo travelers do want to enjoy this solo travel experience so that they can push themselves out of their comfort zone. So they don't want the traditional, everything will be catered for you, but almost like we will have the basic, the things that will keep you safe and all of that. But you'll be able to do like one day of doing your own thing and, experimenting, and that kind of level of, and it's a very fine line of not babying, and does that make sense? Like enough. Yeah. So just that level of, we encourage you in independency. And again, being conscious of the, economic impact, and just kind of like adapting if it's a payment plan, if it's kind of like just showing that, we know this might be a bit more costly for you, and we are putting all these kind of extra things in place to help you travel more solo.
For an extended interview with Pelumi Nubi, please check out our upcoming podcasts on Travel Market Life. Coming up next, the quick quiz.
Travel Market Life.
So guys, are you ready? Best of 5. We're going to be challenging you on your industry knowledge as usual. So hopefully you've got some sort of buzzer, bell, horn, or some way of making a noise. So Will's got a bell. James has a ouch. Something that's just coming through the phone.
Oh.
And Claire is going to try. Oh, Claire's just going to drop her phone.
No, I was going to drop my phone. Sorry, that was something I was trying, but I'll try. It's a nightmare. Can you hear that? I'm going to bang my glass.
Excellent. Wonderful. Good. Love it. Makeshift. It's just brilliant. That's the way. That's what this is designed for. Okay, right. Question number 1. In what century was the Taj Mahal built? Yes, Will.
12th.
You've gone for 12th. Anyone want to go for another guess there? James?
11th.
Claire, you may as well have a go.
Did you hear me?
No.
Oh, I said 16th.
Congratulations, Claire. 17th century. So you were the closest. There you are. Not as old as you think, is it, eh? Right, next one. Are you ready? Be quick on this one. If you were visiting the Louvre, Which city would you be in?
Oh,
Will got in there just quickly there.
Would that be Paris, Ryan?
It would be Paris, yes. All right, number 3. What are the 3 Scandinavian countries? James.
Denmark. Yeah. But do I get a yes or a no, or should I just say all
I'm
3?
asking for the 3 Scandinavian countries.
Denmark, Norway, and Sweden.
Oh, congratulations. Right, number 4. Which is the largest Caribbean island? James.
Jamaica.
Will.
Is it the Dominican Republic?
No. Claire, you're still in the game. Do you have any idea what is the largest Caribbean island? Oh, can we get her? Can we get an answer from Claire? No, I think she's frozen. I think
She's Googling it.
So this is the perils of remote working, right?
Yeah. Go on then. Put us out of our misery.
Is it Barbados?
Barbados.
Cuba.
Oh,
You don't think it.
Everyone forgets that Cuba is a Caribbean country, I think. Island.
Oh, God,
Right.
yeah, we should have known that, Will.
5th and final question. The Spanish Steps are in which city? James.
Rome.
Yes, congratulations. You are the winner this week. Well done. And we
Claire,
lost
I bet Claire's going to come back on and go, it was Cuba. Did you get that?
Oh, she did so well. She was so determined to be here for the entire time. And I'm glad we managed to get some bits and pieces from her before she heads off to the ITT conference. But Claire is now attempting to join one more time here. She has been added to our little mix. Do we get to hear Claire's voice before we disappear?
Yes, you do. I'm so sorry. I could, again. Can you
Do you
hear
know
me
what?
now?
Yes, we can. Which is the largest Caribbean island?
Oh, I didn't hear what Will and James said. I was going to say Jamaica.
Yeah, Will said Jamaica, wasn't it?
no, James did.
Oh, James said Jamaica. Will said Dominican Republic. It's Cuba.
Oh, Cuba.
Good question.
There we go. All
Great
right.
question.
Well, to all 3 of you, thank you so much for playing along the last 6 months up until this summer break. I look forward to catching up with you again as we come up into the tail end of the year. Otherwise, enjoy your summers.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks,
Lovely
everyone.
to see you all. Have a great summer.
There we are. And this has been Travel Market Life, our review shows that have been happening for the last 6 months. If you haven't checked them out, you can go back. You can see some of the trends and conversations that we've been having with some specialists in the industry, as well as our hospitality review show, where we delve more into the accommodation aspect of travel and tourism. I'm your host, Ryan Haynes. Keep tuned for the latest episodes coming out.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.